Another Team ORCC series where 4 or 3 members of off-road.cc staff try their hands at a full season's racing. Our seasons are completely up now. We've showed you our bikes, we've showed you all the racing, and now we're going to have a bit of a recap. Have a chat about how well we've done, what we think went well, and what didn't go so well. So yeah, let's get on with it. Alright, so we're here to have a bit of a chat about our series. So Brad, we'll start off with you. What was your high point?
Yeah, so the season was good. This was like the first time I've tackled a full XC season. I think the main takeaways was just that it's so much fun. It was amazing to do. Coming from like the road and like the crit side of things, it's just totally different. The environment's amazing. Everyone's so much fun. And you can just kind of take a race as it comes. You have a good day and off day. I think so. I kind of went into it wanting to go up. In terms of the category, I think the main thing from that is consistency, being able to get to a lot of the bigger races. It means a lot of travel. The races were quite spread out this year, with a few of them being in Scotland. Obviously, being based in the south, it's quite hard to get up there. But yeah, no, it went really well. I think it's been nice to race something different. You kind of need so much more than just a base fitness. Everything from handling, how you kind of handle on a bike. I have to admit, like having the kind of extra trail on the bike with the Canyon Lux, like it definitely helped out. Some of the national series, like anyone on a hardtail, I felt for them because some of them were pretty gnarly. But yeah, it's a really nice mix, a lot of fun. I fell in love with racing again. It's quite nice that the season kind of stops. It kind of peters out towards the middle, so then you can kind of do a few extra bits. But yeah, no, I think what went well is that I surprised myself in how well I did. I think I only just missed out going up, and that's purely down to not being able to get to some of the races. I think, like for example, Cannock Chase, I had a really bad start and I came off the bike quite a bit, hurt my knee and kind of just sacked it off because I wasn't there mentally. But actually, in theory, if you just keep going on, you can kind of get back into a lot of races. It's just so stretched out that I think that's the beauty of kind of XC. Anyone who loves racing, who loves kind of going quite deep, I'd say it's a fantastic racing to get into. It was a joy. I think I'll kind of potentially carry on. You do need the commitment. You do need the kind of base fitness, but it's just a lot of fun. And I think, kind of being able to get in the mix with everyone and meet a lot of new people. I just loved it. It was really, really good. A lot of fun. I would recommend it to anyone.
Brilliant.
No pain at all.
Yeah, a lot of pain.
So it's fun.
It's a lot of fun, but it's a lot of hard. Like you kind of tell that. I think what I found is that towards the back end of the season, other things were kind of life was getting in the way a little bit, and where your fitness kind of levels peter off, it's quite hard to stay at that top end. The racing, even at the amateur level, is so high that I think you really need to stay on your fitness shape. So it is that kind of. It depends how much commitment you have to put into it. But it's like with any racing, really, depending on how much time you have to it. But what I would say is, like, if anyone likes to have a bit more fun, but likes riding off-road, this could be like that kind of nice kind of mix of pain and fun at the same time.
So how do you think your road riding kind of, did it help at all?
Yeah, I think I found myself like a lot more comfortable on the bike. Obviously, you're having to do so much more in terms of handling when you're racing with a mountain bike and XC, and you kind of then jump on a road bike. And one, it's so light, so you automatically just feel faster. But it does kind of mean that I felt a lot more comfortable. I feel like my handling has got better the more you do it, the more you practice. And I think, that kind of cross training. There's no wonder why like some of the top road world tour riders do these kind of cross disciplines. You can tell because it just fitness wise it helps, and also on the bike, like the bike handling skills it helps massively. So I can't see anyone adding it into like an element of racing next year or years to come. I think it's a positive, not a negative. I think people would only gain from it, not lose from it.
Awesome. So, were there any particularly bad parts of your season?
Yeah, like I said, like just not being able to get to all of them. That was a bit frustrating, just because of like I said, life getting in the way, clashes on dates. But also like Cannock Chase, I really liked the course, but I basically off the bat, first corner, got taken out and was just like already at the back of the pack. So fighting my way back from there, and then kind of getting up towards kind of the top 10 again, which is amazing, and then just taking a hit, and just all in the first lap, and just mentally it was just like really draining. Actually, the worst one was the marathon, one of the marathon champs. It went off really fast, and kind of a quarter of the way in, bear in mind it was like a 2-hour drive, a quarter of the way into the first lap, so we're talking 10 minutes of riding. It was due to be 4 hours of riding. 10 minutes of riding. There was like a divot, and it had so much rock on the bottom, and I didn't get to recon the course or that bit, so I just went like hell for leather on that bit. And there was about 15 of us that all got punctures there. Just unfortunately, punctures were so bad, I couldn't carry on. So that was a low point, because I felt really good for that race, and I just couldn't get it fixed. And I just naturally not having a team around me or having any spares, I thought, it'll be all right. No, like I tried to plug it, it was so bad. That was a real shame. But apart from that, everything, like I said, was quite positive, really.
Brilliant. Yeah, having watched your parts of it, your season seemed a little bit tumultuous, but it's good to see that you're feeling positive about it. That's great news.
Yeah, I think for me, this year was like a real kind of just see how it goes and see if I get the love for it. Definitely have caught the bug, and I think try and potentially continue it into next year and years after.
Excellent. Yeah, I can see a lot of maybe some mountain biking of audience kind of liking the transition to the muddy side.
Yeah.
So Suvi, you've not been with the team for very long, really, only done a couple of races. How was it coming into the team a little bit later?
I mean, it was smooth. So I had already planned to do some gravel events, regardless of being part of a team or not. Kind of same as Brad. Like, just thought it would be fun to do these kind of gravel events. And I would say, because they are events. Like, there's that. I know, Brad, you did the Dirty River as well, and it's a very hazy area in the gravel scene. Is it a race or is it not a race? And you get timed and everything, so you totally get into the racing. And I always used to be like, I don't really care, like I'm just gonna go and see how it goes. But I've totally been sucked in and like trying my best, and actually got quite good results in the two actual events that I got to do for the team. So the Raiders Gravel and Duke's Weekender, both of them were they were really, really different events. And especially the Duke's Weekender I really liked, because I got to ride with my friends. Like, it's just because the distances are long enough, and you can't really, or you could race like full on hard for the whole time, but you don't, especially at the Dukes, you didn't have to, because you had these segments that you got timed on. And it was super nice that you could just chill and then smash for a couple Ks and then chill again. So the season, I don't know, I really enjoyed it. I met super cool people, so many like other riders that I've never would have met if I didn't go to the events. The bike helped a lot as well. It was super comfy to ride, just fit me super well, and I don't know what else to say. I didn't really have any lows in my season.
Didn't?
My short and sweet season. I think the low was the fact that I was just kind of joining it towards the end of the year, and then just like, I mean, there are so many events and you can't do them all. And then, I mean, living in Scotland, like, then again, some of them are in the south, so travel would have been an issue. But I would love to do a lot more next year and sign up for a lot more.
So
see how far I could get.
Out of what you did race, what was the highlight there?
The highlight, I think I'm super pleased. I use super a lot. very pleased that I got to kind of place in kind of top 10. I think I was in top 10 for both the races.
Nice.
And in general, I don't have a racing background in any discipline. I just, I sometimes kind of like to go and try my luck kind of thing. So I was really pleased. Duke's Weekender, Isla Short was the number one. Like she won the women's one. She was placed first on the women's category, and it was just like it. Like I don't get to ride with riders like her ever in anywhere else. So it was just really cool to be like, I'm not like, I can ride with her, and like I'm not with her, but in the same event and still place relatively okay. So it's just like exceeding my expectations.
Yeah, I bet
that was
quite confidence inspiring kind of, or like you're realizing the skill set that you have compared to, there's loads of gravel riders there. That's quite a nice feeling, I bet.
What would you say to anyone who's like just a casual gravel rider that is looking to maybe do a bit more? Are these the events that are the kind of way to go? I think you kind of explained it a little bit, but I know there's a difference between, say, the Dirty Reaver and there is, say, Duke's Weekender, because I know Dirty Reaver being there as well, like that was one that you could kind of take as you want, but it was effectively the front kind of group of people. It was definitely a race for the whole 7-8 hours, no less or anything like that. Would you kind of recommend a race like that, or something like one of these events where you have timed segments? What do you think is kind of the better way into potentially tackling your first gravel race?
I think it really depends what you want out of it, because I think the Dukes, like the fact that you could ride with, it's a shorter distance, so it's easier to start with. But then again, you don't have as much support along the way, whereas Dirty Reaver, you have feed stops and everything, so it is made quite easy for you as well. But you are probably gonna split if you try to ride in a group over any kind of longer distance. You will split, whereas on the Dukes, it's a lot easier because you have the time segments, and you will naturally split during that, but then you regroup. At the end, you have these natural spots where you will regroup. So I think something which has time segments is easier to start with, and then go. Even then, Dirty Reaver has plenty of different distances, and I think that's generally the case for gravel events. So you get to choose. You don't have to do the 200k, which, for me and maybe for you, it's like it's the only available option there, but it's not. You can do the 65k and just enjoy it, and I think it's with these organized events, I would totally recommend, if you want to start like any of them, I find they're very welcoming and accessible, and no one's gonna be there like, oh, you didn't do well. Everyone's gonna be celebrated, and it's this kind of like, because it's not an actual race, you get a time, but you don't have to. You're not looking at to move up like categories, like get a license. You don't need any of that.
Nice.
Yeah, lovely. Sounds awesome. Yeah. Thanks for your insight there.
Yeah. How was your season, Liam?
I really liked it. It had its highs and lows. Definitely humbling. It was the first. I've done some races before here and there, but I've never done a race or a season alone. But I've never done races where I've put myself in a proper racing category, or one that wasn't like the fun or just open or something like that. It was I started off in seniors, I think, which sounds really horrible because it sounds far older than I actually am. But yeah, super humbling because I think as someone who generally cycles on their own, and you can have really good days on the bike where you're feeling really fast and really like composed. I think my first race, I ended up 40th in a field of about 50. So it's like, I'm not as good as what I thought I was, but I've got some learning to do, which is excellent news because, it's better to have learning to do, in my opinion, than it is just be really good straight out of the gates. I did get better results. So my goal was to be in the top 20, which is, to start with, it felt possible. After doing the first race, it's like, oh god, I need to rethink that. But I had to do a race basically midway through a storm at QECP. So that alone was quite good in being like, you're racing, you have to do this for your season score. And of course, doing it for a bit of work, it pushes you to do stuff that I'd turn up and just go home because it was horrible. But that was my best result. I think that was like 23rd, 24th. And considering it was just horrible, horrible muck the whole time and really physical, yeah, that was really good. The proper highlight must have been the Enduro at Minehead. So that was a qualifier for the EWS, or it was part of a national series. So the riding there was much more technical, steeper, faster, harder, much, much bigger day. But it's just awesome fun. I spent the whole time with a mate of mine, but Ty, he was in an episode once or twice. And yeah, we just had fun riding the tracks. And as the year went on, I realised my results weren't amazing. It was more about just going out and enjoying it, which I definitely did. Near the end, it did get a bit more. It felt like work, getting up at 5, 6 in the morning to drive 2 hours to go ride a bike for a day, then come back. It was like, wow, okay, it's a lot of effort, especially when trying to fit it in with work and just spare time at home. And I was training. I did strength training with a guy called Ben Plengy, who runs the Strength Factory in Bristol. And again, like, that was really good. It was tailored training. But the more the year went on, the busier I got at work, the busier I got at home, and the less I actually managed to fit training in. So if we do something again next year, it is train hard and don't stop. But yeah, that's my season.
Yeah, I think it gives you kind of like the one thing that I like about it is it gives you a hunger to potentially get better, and you kind of like you can kind of see quite clearly like this is probably what I need to do to get better next year, and that's why I like it. And it's kind of one of those things that the beauty is of potentially setting some goals like to start the year. I always think that like setting some goals, because then like for me in XC, you've kind of got different levels of races, and that if you can't get to some of the bigger ones, you're going to lose out on a lot of points. And it is just, I'm sure it's kind of similar in the Enduro that you have these different levels. Like if you're just starting out, the regional races are great, just fun little local races. Then you kind of have the bigger, more kind of taking in the whole region that are a little bit harder. And then you go to national, and all of a sudden the courses are just like on a different level. The actual racing is on a different level because there's so many more points. But it made me really hungry to go, I want to get better at my technical riding. I want to make sure that I can get it in the mix on the national level. And it's nice to have that in the first year to then go, oh, next year I potentially want to do more of that. So yeah, it's been fun to test it out this year to hopefully do a bit more.
Do you have plans for next year already?
I do. I've actually potentially looking at some more ultra races. I've always liked going quite long. If I can kind of, again, it's looking at the commitment and looking at if I can fit in an XC season and have some goals for it, then I'd like to do it just because I loved it so much. But yeah, we'll always keep an eye on it. What about yourselves? Plans to do more?
Well, yeah, I would like to do some more. I'd like to calm it down a little bit because, as I say, it's a hell of a commitment to do a full season. You're out racing at least once a month. And again, getting up early and driving really far. But I'd like to keep on racing and do a little bit more. What about yourself, Subi?
Definitely, I'd like to do even more next year. But it is the travel commitment is the biggest to get to the events, and but maybe like one a month. I think that's like a good amount of events for me. But definitely, I've got like a calendar already planned for next year.
I think it's quite interesting how we've all come away with quite a similar kind of, these are the good parts and these are the bad parts. So obviously the racing, the riding, the meeting people is all like awesome, but then the commitment is the hardest part. So perhaps that's the same for everyone. But again, that was our first season, and I'm sure there's still things to learn as we potentially go into more seasons or just race in the future. But again, like, this whole experience is to learn about racing and what it actually takes, and I think we've done a really good job of learning that. Yeah,
it's been fun to share, and exciting to potentially see what's coming up next year. I think yeah, I've loved it. It's been fun to be a part of the team, try out new things, try different things. It's been a lot of fun.
Excellent.
Yeah, same. I think it's been also really interesting. I would have not have got the insight into any of the other disciplines. Like I would have not even known really what enduro riding is. Like enduro racing, the riding, yes, but the racing, it's been super interesting to follow Liam's season specifically because it's so
Likewise.
different to anything that I know, like how racing works.
Yeah, I must admit it has been really good fun to go back through the videos, see what Suvi's been doing, see what you've been doing, Brad, and just see how different, you know, we're all riding bikes, but these different styles of racing are just so vastly different.
Yeah.
It's been cool. So I guess we can call that the end of the season, but we can't leave without thanking our sponsors. So we've got to thank Canyon for the bikes, Met for the helmets, and Hammerhead for the crew tools that we've been using to track our rides and things. And watch the space. There might be something happening next year. But thanks for following us throughout the whole of our seasons. If you have done, if you've not, thanks for dropping in here and there. And we'll see you next time. Thanks very much.
Thank you.